a 1990s Toyota Land Cruiser hitting 400,000 miles. But look at cars today. They are more advanced than ever, yet they're braking faster than machines built decades ago. Like, what's going on? Are modern cars actually designed to fail? Well, yes. Today's cars are basically rolling computers. A typical modern vehicle can have 50 to 150 electronic control units, also called ECUs. These are small computers that control things like the engine, brakes, steering, and even the windows. Then there's the software. A modern car can contain over 100 million lines of code. That's a massive amount of programming just to make everything work together. To put that into perspective, an F-35 fighter jet has around 8 million lines of code. Windows, the operating system used by millions of computers, has about 50 million. But some modern luxury cars can reach 150 million lines of code, and that level of complexity comes with problems. Software bugs, sensor failures, different systems failing to communicate with each other. In fact, infotainment systems alone now generate the largest number of reliability complaints, especially things like Bluetooth connections and phone pairing. A modern car might have more software interactions than a small airline flight control system. That's impressive. But it's also incredibly fragile. The touchscreen takeover also made it worse. For decades, cars used simple physical buttons and knobs. Want to change the temperature? Turn a dial. Want to adjust the radio? Press a button. Easy. Fast. You could do it without even looking. But modern cars replaced all of that with giant touchscreens. Because screens are cheaper to manufacture, they're easier to update with software, and manufacturers can use the same screen across multiple models, saving even more money. But it obviously comes with some serious downsides. First, driver distraction. Instead of quickly pressing a button, drivers now have to look down, scroll through menus, and tap the screen. Second, system lag. Anyone who has used a slow touchscreen knows how frustrating that can be. Then we have the repair cost. If a touchscreen breaks, replacing the infotainment display alone can cost $2,000 to $3,000. But the biggest problem is something most people don't realize. Touchscreens centralize failures. In older cars, if the radio broke, the car still drove fine. If the axe stopped working, you could still get where you needed to go. But in modern cars, that central computer controls almost everything. Climate control, navigation, backup cameras, drive settings. And when that one system fails, a lot more can go wrong. Now let's talk about the money side of all this. Because once you understand the business model, a lot of these changes suddenly start to make sense. For decades, the auto industry worked in a very simple way. A company builds a car, sells it once, and that's the end of the transaction. But recently, automakers realized that selling a car once is good. Charging customers every month forever is even better. Welcome to the subscription economy. Today, some features in modern cars are starting to work like streaming services. For example, Toyota offers a remote start feature that can require a subscription of around $8 a month. Ford charges about $495 per year for its hands-free driving system called Blue Cruise. And Mercedes even introduced a feature where you can pay around $1,200 per year to unlock faster acceleration. But one example caused massive backlash. BMW tried charging drivers about $18 per month for heated seats, even though the heating hardware was already installed inside the car. People weren't paying to install the seats, they were paying just to activate something that already existed. And that reveals that cars are no longer just products you buy. They're slowly becoming platforms for recurring revenue. In fact, industry analysts believe that by 2030, nearly all new vehicles will be connected to subscription services in some way. You buy might not truly be yours. You're just paying for continued access to the features inside it. And you know what's more surprising? The idea that more expensive cars are automatically better. For a long time, people believed that paying more meant getting a better machine, better engineering, better reliability. But in today's auto industry, many luxury vehicles actually share the exact same engines, transmissions, and platforms as much cheaper models. For example, the Cadillac Escalade, the Chevy Tahoe, and the GMC Yukon are all built on the same underlying platform. They use very similar mechanical components under the hood, yet depending on the trim level, the price difference between them can exceed $100,000. Then, what exactly are you paying for? Well, mostly luxury features. Things like air suspension, complex driver assist systems, adaptive headlights, and motors that automatically move seats, doors, mirrors, and steering wheels. All of those features make the car feel more advanced and more comfortable, but they also create a new problem. Every extra piece of technology adds another possible failure point, and more things that can break. In fact, premium luxury vehicles often report more problems than regular mass-market cars, so the higher price tag doesn't always mean a more dependable machine. Sometimes it just means more complicated technology hiding under nicer leather seats. And that's why this strange contradiction exists in this car world. Like as we talked about, older cars actually lasted longer, even though they had far worse technology. Think about vehicles like the Toyota Land Cruiser, the Ford Crown Victoria, or even a 2000s Honda Accord. These cars didn't have giant touchscreens. They didn't have dozens of driver assist systems, and they definitely didn't have millions of lines of software code. Yet many of them are still on the road today with 200,000, 300,000, even 400,000 miles. Well, reason is quite simple. Older vehicles were built with simpler engines, fewer electronics, and mostly mechanical controls. If something broke, a mechanic could usually find the problem quickly and fix it with basic tools. Modern cars are very different, like it's very obvious because they rely on dozens of sensors, complex fuel mapping systems, strict emissions controls, turbochargers, and layers of software managing everything behind the scenes. And that leads to an important engineering principle. Complex systems fail in complex ways. When something goes wrong in a modern car, it might not be just one broken part. It could involve a sensor sending the wrong signal, which affects the fuel system, which changes turbo pressure, which triggers a software error. One tiny problem can slowly cascade into a much bigger failure. So while modern cars are more advanced than ever, that same complexity can also make them far more fragile. And the turbocharged engine problem, in my opinion, plays a huge role. Modern engines are smaller than they used to be, but somehow they're way more powerful. For example, an old 5.0-liter V8 engine made around 250 horsepower. Now, a 2.0-liter turbo engine can push out 270 horsepower, and that's with half the displacement. How do manufacturers do it? They push engines harder using things like turbocharging, higher compression, direct injection, and tighter tolerances. This way, each individual component is under way more stress than before. Engines now run hotter, operate under higher pressure, and use thinner oil to save weight and improve efficiency. All of that adds up. More heat, more pressure, more wear. A tiny mistake or weak part can lead to major engine problems, sometimes way earlier than you'd expect. Oh yes, modern engines are more efficient and powerful, but that efficiency has a shorter lifespan and more potential headaches. The supply chain reality is even worse. Modern cars don't come from a single factory. They rely on thousands of suppliers all over the world. Electronics companies make sensors and control units. Battery suppliers handle the power systems. Semiconductor manufacturers provide the chips that run the software, and global parts factories produce everything from brake calipers to seat motors. Now, when COVID hit, the supply chain got messy, like really messy. Automakers had to switch suppliers quickly, redesign chips to work with what was available, and even simplify components to keep production going. The problem is, these rapid changes weren't always tested fully. A tiny difference in a chip or sensor can make an engine, transmission, or infotainment system behave unpredictably. The problems we see in modern cars today can be traced back to these supply chain shortcuts and rushed redesigns. It's not just planned obsolescence or greedy automakers. It's also a fragile global system that can't always guarantee quality when parts come from dozens of sources across the world. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to check out the channel for more. Now let's dive into one of the most controversial ideas in the car world: planned obsolescence. A lot of people blame automakers for deliberately designing cars to fail. But the reality is a little more complicated. Most manufacturers aren't trying to ruin your day, they're trying to balance a bunch of requirements at once. They need cars to last through the warranty period. They have cost targets to hit for each vehicle, and they must meet strict emissions and safety regulations. So sometimes a part might last 100,000 miles instead of 300,000 miles. That doesn't sound like much, but when you multiply that across millions of cars, the savings in production costs can be massive. Tiny compromises here and there, lighter materials, thinner metals, tighter tolerances add up faster than you think. The economic truth? Longevity rarely wins against cost efficiency. That's why a modern car might start showing problems right after the warranty ends, while older cars with simpler designs just keep going and going and going. It's not always a conspiracy. Sometimes it's just business logic disguised as misfortune for the owner. Here's another critical trend that's quietly making modern cars more expensive and frustrating. Repairs are becoming nearly impossible. In the past, if something broke, a mechanic could open the hood, figure it out, and fix it. Simple, straightforward, affordable. Today, it's a different story. Modern cars rely on proprietary diagnostic software, encrypted components, and dealer-only tools. Even something as simple as a headlight can now cost over $2,000. Why? Because that single headlight isn't just a bulb anymore, it's a tiny high-tech system with sensors, cameras, LED arrays, computer modules. Independent mechanics are increasingly struggling to repair these vehicles, even for basic issues. And when repairs are this difficult or expensive, where do owners go? Back to the dealership service department, of course. That means higher repair bills, longer waits, and less control over your own car. What used to be a simple fix now comes with a tech-heavy price tag, and the convenience you had with older cars is slowly disappearing. Modern cars may be full of features, but they've also made repairing them a lot harder for everyone but the manufacturer. Here's something really fascinating happening in the car world: the used car paradox. Believe it or not, older cars are holding their value better than many brand new models. Take vehicles like the Toyota 4Runner, the Toyota Land Cruiser, the Lexus GX, or even older Tacoma models. These cars, some 10, 15, or even 20 years old, still command high prices on the used market. Why? Because buyers know what works. They trust proven mechanical designs, engines, transmissions, and suspensions that have been tested for decades, more than new experimental systems packed with electronics, turbos, and touchscreens. In other words, reliability has become a financial asset. A car that actually lasts without constant repairs isn't just convenient, it's worth more money. Meanwhile, some modern vehicles, no matter how flashy or expensive, lose value fast the moment they leave the dealership. So the lesson? Sometimes the best investment isn't the newest car with all the gadgets. It's the one with a history of reliability and simple engineering. The used car market is basically telling us what older generations already knew: a proven design beats the latest tech every single time. Now let's bring it all together and answer the big question: why do modern cars keep getting worse? The truth is, the car industry today is driven by three powerful forces. First, the technology arms race. Every manufacturer wants the newest gadgets, bigger touchscreens, more sensors, fancy driver assist systems. Second, profit maximization. Automakers know that selling you a car isn't enough. They can make more money through subscriptions, expensive repairs, and planned upgrades. Third, consumer demand. People want luxury interiors, smartphone integration, and even self-driving features. Every single one of these features comes with a hidden cost: complexity. More sensors, more electronics, more software, more moving parts. And here's the problem: complexity increases failures. One extra module, one extra chip, one extra sensor can create a cascade of problems. Suddenly, a small glitch in the infotainment system can affect climate control, cameras, or even driving modes. The more features we add, the more fragile cars become. The more advanced they are, the faster they seem to break. So while cars are technically smarter than ever, that smarter technology comes with more ways to fail. And that, my friend, is the real reason modern cars keep getting worse, even as they keep getting more expensive and more advanced.